Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I'm doing one of my favorite videos to do all year because I only really get to do it once a year, and that is talking about my next year's prediction list on what archetypes I think will end up getting support. A couple prerequisites here. I like to really pick archetypes that I enjoy. Like, what's the point of getting 9 out of 10 archetypes correct when they're archetypes that you wouldn't even personally care about playing? So to me, I have a couple, most of these are archetypes that I would be really happy to see them get support and probably try to play them, at least at a rogue level. So there's that. And then it's also a couple, most of them on the list are ones that I think actually do have some extra reason, more so than just, oh, they haven't gotten support in a couple years. Like, there's a couple archetypes like that, but there are also ones that I feel like have a little extra reasoning to believe why they could end up in there. So follow along with me there. Throw your list down in the comment section as well. Throw your 10 archetype list on what you think will and also you would love to see archetypes. I'll definitely be taking a look at everybody's list down below, so that'll be fun. And then let's just jump into this thing by starting with my last year's prediction. And this is kind of where it cuts off because I don't think we're going to be able to like wait too much longer here because we're going to be technically getting into like 2025 reveals. Because even with Alliance Insight, even if some of the Alliance Insight stuff starts getting revealed here in the next couple weeks, in 2024, technically, it's for a 2025 set that's coming out in the OCG for the first time in 2025. So I kind of count it as 2025 stuff, just so we know. So I ended up only getting 4 right. We actually had 4 right like a couple months ago, and we just haven't hit on anything since. You're going to see some of these archetypes are going to carry over. The red ones are the ones that I got right this year. The yellow ones not quite, and you will see as we go through which ones I'm going to carry over to next year. So let's get into this thing. Number 1 on the list, Magnet Warriors. This is one of the 2 archetypes I think on this list that I'm like probably capping on pretty decently hard. Listen, this archetype really came out into full force as an actual playable archetype at the exact same time that ABC did. They got structured X together. ABCs were immediately meta relevant, and Magnet Warriors have never been so. They've always been bad, but they've always had potential. They've always had a couple of good cards. They just never really went all the way anywhere that they needed. So I think this archetype deserves support. It has for years. It's tied to a popular anime character, so if they wanted to continue with duelist packs, this is an archetype they have not done that helps them get Yugi on the cover of a duelist pack if they want. Could even potentially be a cover, you know, main core set cover if they want to put a big new Magnet Warrior boss monster on the cover. I think that could still look sick and still fit the mold for that. And ABC just got 7 new cards last year. We didn't even think they were going to get that, and just like out of nowhere, 7 more ABC cards, and actually good ones, and Magnet Warriors still have not gotten like actual good support to this date. So I think it makes sense. Will they do it? I don't know. I've been capping on this for years, but I'm hoping this is the year it comes through. Number 2, Cyber Dragons. I jumped the gun last year, and that's on me, because if my research was a little bit more on point, I would have realized that Cyber Dragon actually made way more sense for this year. So Blue Eyes got its structure deck in 2024. It wasn't called Structure Deck R, but it basically was. So even though Konami in the OCG didn't call it the Blue Eyes Structure Deck R, Blue Eyes was next in line. If you went and you looked at the list, and what's now after Blue Eyes in you know the series for Structure Deck R, technically Cyber Dragon. So it was my fault for picking them last year when I should have waited a year and picked them this year. But now I think we're ready. I think it makes so much sense. This archetype needs it so bad. This archetype has so many good cards like all over the place that can help the deck go first, be a combo deck, be a control deck, go second OTK deck. It just doesn't have the engine pieces to glue it all together. It feels like a totally disjunct, non-cohesive strategy. So I hope they get a structure deck, because then it's 8 new cards and they can like just tie the whole archetype together finally. But we'll obviously have to wait and see. But this one should be a huge fan favorite. I also think even if they don't get the structure deck for whatever reason, they could easily be in a duelist pack. They could easily be on the cover of a core set. I think there's multiple different products this type of archetype could end up in anyway. So I think this one makes a lot of sense. Number 3, Evil Swarm. Whoa, what is that? Okay, that was weird. I clicked something. Anyway, Evil Swarm. This is a really cool one. So with Terminal World and Terminal World 2 coming this year in 2024, I'm really hoping there's a Terminal World 3. I have no reason to believe they'll stop just yet. Even when they did the Link Vrains packs, they did 1, 2, and 3. So I think 3 years feels about right for each of these weird like series of products that they do once a year. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Which means 4 more archetypes should be picked for that. And let's not throw out the possibility that Konami can just keep picking dual terminal archetypes in core sets to just get support. They've been doing that over the last 2 years anyway. All of that combined with the fact that Evil Swarm shares a name with Steel Swarm, so they can support both archetypes at the same time with L Swarm support. And so I think Konami being able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone and support 2 archetypes at the same time, I think really makes for this archetype to have a good chance at being included in hopefully 2025 dual terminal support. So there's an archetype where the extract monsters and the traps are pretty good, but the spells and monsters are awful. They really just don't have the best engine cards that help them make like their extract monsters, which are the best cards in the archetype. And so hopefully that's something they address if they do get new support. Number 4, Zephyr. So Zephyr also comes down as Terminal World support for me, or dual terminal option. Similar basis to Evil Swarm. I think both archetypes have like decent fan bases around them that would like to see them get some new modernized support. And kind of like how Evil Swarm shares names with Steel Swarm, Zephyr shares names with like a bunch of different dual terminal archetypes. So it's tied in tightly with a bunch of the other archetypes. I think that means for like lore reasons they might want to give Zephyr support to tie loose ends in lore, if there are those. And also, you can't leave out the fact that if Yangzing gets chosen, because 2 of Zephyr's most crucial engine monsters are Yangzing monsters in name as well, that even if Yangzing gets picked, Zephyr could end up getting support kind of by proxy out of that option as well. So I think there's multiple ways it ends up in here. I would really love this one. This is my favorite pendulum deck of all time, because it's really one of the few that can play as an actual control pendulum deck rather than like just combo pile like most of them do. And I really appreciate that about the archetype. So that'd be really cool to me. All right, number 5, we have Vanquish Soul. This one's pretty plain and cut and dry. You know, it's really simple. When new archetypes come out in their deck build packs in the OCG, they will get a couple of cards in the next couple core sets following their initial release, and then Konami will wait about like 2 to maybe 3 years, and then 2 to 3 years later they will drop another solid wave to help them keep up with the pace of the game, with power creep, with all that stuff. Vanquish Soul did not even really get much support after their initial release. They got like 1 monster and 1 trap, and that's it. And they weren't even that good. They were okay. We were hoping for better stuff, or at least more stuff for them. And now we're about getting to that point in time where like through 2025, we'll be going through basically that like 2 and 3 year mark to, you know, get their next wave. So I think it makes a lot of sense. This archetype was way too much of a fan favorite for Konami to just ignore them going forward. I don't get it. It's an archetype that plays a really cool style, plays like a back and forth control style, is all about advantage, and it can dodge stuff in like cool ways. It really does have some cool things about it, and it's just loved. It's loved. I don't get how they haven't come back to this one yet. And so since they have it, I'm hoping that this year is the year that makes sense for them to do so, because it's also, this is kind of the calendar year where they've kind of fallen out of playability really on that like higher level. So hopefully this is where they get their boost. So number 6, I'm capping 100% on this one, but you guys know what my favorite archetype of all time is. It's Subtear. This is the first deck I ever had any sort of competitive success with. I really want them to get support. I don't know if they will, but I'm hoping. I don't really have any bonus reason. It's a TCG exclusive archetype originally, so like it doesn't hold any real weight to Konami. It's not tied to any anime characters, so that loses a little bit of its ability to get chosen. So it's basically relegated to almost specifically like core set support. But man, it's been a while. They've faded out of playability. This is a perfect chance for them to actually give this archetype like a boost to its engine and actually allow it to play as like a mid-range strategy rather than more of like a stun strategy like it was before. And this archetype has, to me personally, the coolest artwork in all of Yu-Gi-Oh. So yeah, this one's in for me. I'd go crazy if they actually got really good support. What is this? What are we on? 7? Number 7, Paleozoic. This one makes just so much sense to me. They've already kind of been toying around, towing the line of like making Paleos good again with stuff like Silhouette Rabbit, which searches trap monsters. I know it doesn't get Paleozoic specifically, but it's still in that realm. And there's a world where even the Odeon archetype, which we are expecting to be a trap monster based archetype, maybe they also have some synergy with the Paleozoics. So there's a world where we could cross this one off the list super early. We have no idea what the Odeon cards are going to do. We just know it's Odeon support, and we've seen some of the artwork. I think that could be potentially really cool. On top of that, we've seen this little resurgence from Paleozoic. Not that it's been like out of this world good, but we've seen a lot of their fans kind of creep up. YouTubers like Joshua Schmidt playing them on stream and getting a lot of people who used to love Paleos, 10 years ago or whenever they were, during their heyday competitively, messing around with them again. And if they could do something to actually make them legitimately like solid again, that would be really cool. And I think the timing's just perfect as they're having a resurgence and some of their fans coming back and messing with the deck even on like a rogue or fun level. Like, that's the perfect time for Konami to come through with a lightning bolt and strike down some really cool support for an archetype that's like resurging in terms of the fans. So I think this one makes a lot of sense just timing wise. Konami would be really smart to pump out like something that makes Paleozoic better. So we'll see. Also, not to mention, like, if Konami came out and announced like new Frog support, it would also probably just count as Paleo support at the same time. So there's other good ways where Paleo could end up not getting direct support, but still good support. All right, number 8, Rose Dragons. I think this one makes sense. I think this one's just a frustrating one to me because while this archetype has gotten good cards, and some of their cards are even just generically good, Black Rose Dragon, Ruddy Rose Dragon, even Black Rose Moonlight, right? And even some of their main deck monsters that just like facilitating dragon plays, we saw that. They also were played, I think, in like the kitchen sink deck. Before that, saw some hits taken. I think we're in a cool place where, one, their cards just recently got unbanned, and two, this archetype, while it's seen its cards generically utilized in other decks, it's never really been its own playable strategy. So, not to mention, there's a bunch of colors they haven't used. They only have like red dragon, blue rose dragon, white rose dragon, I think, and then obviously black in the extra deck. They can mess around with pink rose dragon, purple rose dragon. Like, why don't they just make more colors, expand this archetype out into its own full deck? I think that would be a really cool way to go about it. And not only that, it's tied to a popular anime character, Akiza. So could this be core set cover? Could this be duelist pack? Could this be structure deck even, right? Like, I think there's a couple different ways they could go about it. So I think there's a chance here, since it also has been a couple years since this archetype has gotten new cards. So I think its timing makes sense. I think this one would be really cool. Next up, Weather Painters. This is number 9. This one really only has one point. It's similar to Magnet Warriors in that this archetype got released in the same deck build pack as Magical Musketeers. And they've kind of had this little rivalry. Even when they first got announced, people argued over which one was going to be better in the long run. Neither were great in the long run, but Magical Musketeers has definitely outclassed them. And Magical Musketeers, while they didn't get direct support in 2024, they did get Fiendsmith, which was maybe even a bigger buff than direct support would have been. So now Magical Musketeers are like a legit playable rogue deck, and this deck hasn't really been there. So I think it makes sense just for like that kind of comparative essence of like everybody remembers them coming out together, but like one's clearly better than the other. So I think Magnet Warriors and Weather Painters are kind of similar in that, like, hopefully Konami comes through next year and it puts them on par with their biggest rival, and hopefully that's something they do, because I do think this archetype has some really cool aspects about it. It just doesn't have it just hasn't tied all together in like its ability to like play in the mid-range. It seems like it's supposed to be a mid-range deck, but you don't actually make any interactions if you don't go full combo. So hopefully there's something they clean up there. Which takes us to our final archetype, and it's not even really an archetype yet, which makes this prediction even spicier. I'm predicting that 2025 is the year they turn Ancient Fairy Dragon into its own full-on archetype. They did this recently with Shining Sarcophagus, the new Yugi archetype, on the cover of a core set, where they basically took all of Yugi's like final dual cards that he utilized and stuffed them into a deck together and allowed them all to search each other. They could do the exact same thing with Ancient Fairy Dragon and Luna. Again, a signer character from 5Ds that makes it eligible, I think, for core cover stuff, maybe even duelist pack stuff, and also even maybe structure deck. Like, they could do that if they want. So I think that opens the door for a ton of stuff. They could make like a field spell based archetype where you funnel through Ancient Fairy Dragon. She helps you rotate through your field spells. They're all individually good, but maybe hit different things. Like maybe one's an end board piece, one's a starter, one's an extender. Whatever you need, Ancient Fairy Dragon helps you rotate to the field spell you want, and maybe even help you include other archetypes that use field spells as well. Could be a really cool aspect for the deck. So I think that could be something really cool. They could take all of the cards like is it Leotar or Leo something? Luna used a bunch of just like random cards when she played her deck in 5Ds. They could just take those cards, give them a new version like they did with Shining Sarcophagus, and have them all search together, have synergy, and work like that. I think that could be such a cool thing to do. I think it'd be so smart, especially with the timing of AFD finally being able to come off the ban list with its errata and everything, to actually build an archetype around it and give it a home in, you know, in Yu-Gi-Oh again. So I think that would be really, really cool. Yeah, spicy guess, right? Because this archetype doesn't even technically exist. I'm basically guessing they will do it in 2025. So that's hopefully what we end up getting. So honestly, I'm in one of these positions where I can't really lose. Even if I only get 2 or 3 right from this list, there are going to be 2 or 3 things that I'm really excited for anyway and would really love to see. So I'll be a winner regardless if I hit on any of these. And hopefully everybody kind of lands in that position. So make sure you throw your list down in the comments. I'd love to see what your guys' lists look like, and it'd be cool too, because I can come back to this video's comment section and look up and down at the end of 2025 on who had the best list. That could be something really cool, and we can also watch my list together, and hopefully we have some similar picks, which means we can hope together and hopefully see some of this stuff come to fruition. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching as always, guys. Let me know your thoughts down below on my list as well as your own list, and we can talk about that down there. I can't wait to see your guys' list. But yeah, good luck. Yeah, we're gonna need it. I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.